Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Rory McLennan coming to you from Glasgow, Scotland. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. After leading the Angelus on Sunday, Pope Francis sent his prayers for those who died in a major wildfire that recently burned in northeastern Greece. Over 20 people are confirmed to have died in the blaze. This is one of the worst wildfires recorded to hit a European Union nation, and thousands have been forced to flee their homes. The Pope also asked the faithful gathered in St. Peter's Square to remain close to the Ukrainian people who are suffering from the war in their country. As the Church commemorated St. Monica's feast day, Pope Francis also spoke of St. Augustine's mother, praising her as a strong and good woman. On Friday, Pope Francis also met President Katalin Novak of Hungary. The focus of their talks was on the war in Ukraine, with special mention of the humanitarian situation and efforts to end the conflict. Religious freedom and the situation of persecuted Christians around the world were also discussed. Cardinal Giorgio Marengo, Apostolic Prefect of Ulaanbaatar, has spoken of the collective enthusiasm ahead of the imminent apostolic journey of Pope Francis to Mongolia that will take place from August the 31st to September the 4th. In an interview with Vatican News, Cardinal Morengo described the preparations being made for the impending visit. He said the apostolic journey would impact the hearts of the local Catholic community. The Apostolic Prefect described it as a great honour and a very special grace. He added that the Holy Father's presence is a sign of hope and a concrete demonstration that he cares for the tiny flock of Catholics in Mongolia. Meanwhile, Pope Francis mentioned his impending journey as a much-desired visit and an occasion to embrace a church small in numbers but vibrant in faith and great in charity. Erik Pohlmeier, the Bishop of the Diocese of St. Augustine in the US state of Florida, has condemned the senseless violence of a shooting that left 4 dead in the city of Jacksonville. He said the shooter's motivations were fueled by hatred and bigotry as he targeted innocent lives solely because of their race. He called upon all to pray for the victims and their families during this painful time. The bishop also asked to pray for the conversion of hearts that harbour prejudice, that they may be transformed by the grace of God and embrace a spirit of love and reconciliation. Thousands of pilgrims from across the globe gathered at the Częstochowa Shrine in Poland for the feast of Our Lady of Częstochowa. Over 85,000 visitors travelled to the shrine for the celebrations, which marks the end of the summer pilgrimage season. In his homily, Archbishop Wojciech Polak, who is the Primate of Poland and the Metropolitan of Gniezno, pointed to the words from the Gospel that describe Jesus turning water into wine at the wedding in Cana. Archbishop Polak said the hearts of people are hungry for love, which is not just any love that is superficial and elusive, but love that is genuine and profound, a love that only God can give. He said it is the dream of Mary's heart to fill the dried-up vessels of human hearts with the Holy Spirit and the fire of God's love. The Polish Primate said that those guided by love do not hurt others, but treat them as sisters and brothers. Cardinal John Giorgio has vehemently argued in favour of peaceful solutions and against those that would result in death and bloodshed in Niger. The Archbishop Emeritus of Abuja in Nigeria said as much while providing an update on the current situation of Christians in West Africa. Following the military coup last month, the African Union has suspended Niger from all of its activities and warned its members to refrain from taking any actions that would give the junta legitimacy. The coup has alarmed Western allies and democratic African states who worry it will enable Islamist extremists active in the Sahel region to enhance their influence and offer Russia a foothold, while the Economic Community of West African States has been attempting to mediate with the military junta. It has stated that it is ready to send soldiers into Niger to restore constitutional order if diplomatic attempts are unsuccessful. More than 80% of New Jersey parents, according to a recent poll issued this week, think that the middle and high schools should be required to notify parents if their child wants to be identified as a different gender. The latest survey comes on the heels of the State Attorney General filing a lawsuit against 3 school districts for enacting policies requiring schools to do just that. According to a statement from the Attorney General's office last week, the 3 school districts of Middletown Township, Marlborough Township and Manalapan Englishtown Regional Boards of Education have been temporarily barred from adopting policies while the legal challenges are pending. The survey follows several national surveys that show a sharp increase in the number of young people who identify as so-called LGBTQ+. The Organization of Catholic Universities of Latin America and the Caribbean have expressed their solidarity with the Jesuits of Nicaragua following the confiscation and closure of the Central American University carried out by the dictatorship of Daniel Ortega and Rosario Murillo. In a statement, the group, comprising 116 higher education centres, voiced deep concern over the siege, confiscation of assets and closure of the university in Managua. The group also called for the drastic, unexpected and unfair measures taken by the Nicaraguan judicial body against Catholic university educational institutions to be immediately reversed. In the US state of Texas, more than 100 chaplains have signed a letter requesting that local school boards reject the idea of substituting religious chaplains in for school counsellors. In the letter, the Baptist Joint Committee for Religious Liberty, the Interfaith Alliance, and Texas Impact argue that initiatives to replace counsellors in public school classrooms with religious chaplains are detrimental to students and their families. They say that chaplains do not have the training or expertise relevant to mental health, shooter situations, public safety, and other subjects. A bill allowing public schools to employ school chaplains to perform the duties of school counsellors is about to become law. United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has called on political leaders and their supporters to reject any form of violence, threats of violence, or incitement to violence, and to ensure that human rights and the rule of law are fully respected in Zimbabwe. The UN chief expressed his concerns about the arrest of electoral observers, reports of voter intimidation, and threats of violence, harassment, and coercion. President Emmerson Mnangagwa was elected to a second 5-year term on Saturday. According to media sources, the 80-year-old Mr. Mnangagwa earned more than 52% of the vote. Nelson Chamisa, a 45-year-old opposition candidate, garnered around 44% of the vote. The outcomes were rejected by his party, the Citizens Coalition for Change. The Taliban have banned women from visiting one of Afghanistan's most popular national parks, adding to a long list of restrictions aimed at limiting women's access to public places. The restriction was made public after the acting Minister of Vice and Virtue reported that women visiting the Bande Amir National Park were not following the correct protocol for wearing the hijab. Since the Taliban took back control in 2021, the government has prohibited women from attending universities and working for humanitarian organisations. Most secondary schools for girls have also been closed. Numerous public spaces, including gyms, parks and bathhouses, have also been declared off-limits for women. At least 7 people were killed in Haiti on Saturday after a gang opened fire with machine guns in a protest organised by a Christian church leader. Local media reported the final number of casualties would likely be higher, adding that several people were wounded and some churchgoers had been kidnapped. Videos on social media show people being shot at in the street, bodies lying on the ground, and around 100 people wearing yellow shirts associated with the religious group of Pastor Marco marching in the suburb Canaan, in the northern suburb of the capital Port-au-Prince. President of the Philippines, Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos, has directed the government to step up its fight against human trafficking. The issue of Filipinos falling prey to organisations transporting individuals out of the country under the pretense of lucrative employment is still a problem in the Southeast Asian nation. According to official statistics, the Bureau of Immigration prevented roughly 14,000 Filipinos from leaving the country at airports between January and May of this year. Meanwhile, the Philippines is working with partners to strengthen cooperation against transnational crime. President Marcos is expected to raise the issue at the Association of Southeast Asian Nations Summit in Indonesia next month. Mexican film producer Eduardo Verástegui visited Pope Francis at the Vatican with his anti-child trafficking film Sound of Freedom. In 2015, Verástegui presented the film project to the Holy Father, who has frequently denounced human trafficking and urged everyone to fight this evil. The film narrates the story of the American security agent Tim Ballard, played by actor Jim Caviezel, who also portrayed Jesus in the film The Passion of the Christ. After saving a youngster from traffickers, Ballard discovers that the boy's sister is still being held hostage. He then quits his job and risks his life as he embarks on a perilous journey through the Colombian jungle to save her. The film, directed by Alejandro Monteverde, which opened on July the 4th in the United States, has been seen by more than 18 million people. On September the 1st, it will be released in Europe, Asia, and Africa. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us again next time for more, and do remember, you can always go to swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.